What would you do if the person you trusted most was the architect of your greatest suffering? In tonight's episode of Beyond the Gates, Marcus finally discovers the truth about Elena's involvement in the sanctuary's collapse, a revelation that will shatter everything they've built together and force our survivors to choose sides in a war that's been brewing since before the gates even fell. Last time on Beyond the Gates, everything we thought we knew was turned upside down. The sanctuary's western perimeter had been breached, leaving Liam and Sophia scrambling to evacuate the civilians, while Commander Reynolds ordered a full lockdown. Elena's secret transmissions were intercepted by Darius, who confronted her in the communications tower only to be pushed over the railing in their struggle, his body discovered by Marcus minutes later. Meanwhile, Dr. Chen's research revealed that the infection might not be airborne after all, but rather deliberately introduced through the water supply. And that final scene, Maya standing at the edge of the quarantine zone, staring at the unmarked helicopter landing in the distance, her hand clutching the memory drive containing all of the sanctuary's security protocols. As the episode closed, we heard those chilling words. It's time to finish what we started. As episode 44 opens, our characters are scattered across the sanctuary, each dealing with the fallout from last night's chaos in their own way. Marcus Winters, our former military strategist turned reluctant leader, is a man divided. After discovering Darius's body, the weight of another death hangs heavy on him. The sanctuary has looked to him for guidance since the beginning, but for the first time, we see doubt creeping into his eyes. The episode opens with him alone in his quarters, staring at the map of the sanctuary with its marked breaches, tracing his fingers over the patterns that don't make sense, unless they were orchestrated from within. What Marcus fears most isn't the threats outside the gates, but the growing suspicion that someone he trusts has betrayed them all. His desire for truth is at war with his fear of what that truth might cost. Elena Vasquez, once the sanctuary's communications specialist and Marcus's closest confidant, moves through the medical wing with purpose, checking on survivors from the western perimeter attack. But there's a new tension in her shoulders, a guardedness in her interactions. What she fears most is exposure, that Marcus will discover her late-night transmissions weren't calls for help, but coordinates for attack. What she wants is increasingly unclear, even to herself. Does she still believe in whatever cause drove her to betrayal? Or has her connection to the sanctuary, to Marcus, become real enough to make her reconsider? The episode opens with her slipping a small device into the pocket of her jacket, her expression unreadable as she prepares to face the day. Dr. James Chen begins this episode in his laboratory, surrounded by water samples and test results that confirm his worst suspicions. The infection that decimated the outside world wasn't random. It was engineered, targeted, and someone inside the sanctuary knows more than they're saying. What Dr. Chen fears most is that his discovery will come too late to save the people he's sworn to protect. What he wants is time to complete his research, time to develop a countermeasure. The episode opens with him recording his findings onto a secure drive, his voice low and urgent as he catalogs evidence that could get him killed. Sophia Reyes, our youngest leader and head of civilian resources, has transformed from the idealistic survivor we met in the pilot to a hardened pragmatist. After coordinating the evacuation during the breach, she's now dealing with frightened civilians and dwindling supplies. What Sophia fears most is that the community they've built, the one she's sacrificed everything for, is about to tear itself apart from within. What she wants is to preserve the humanity of the sanctuary, even as circumstances demand increasingly inhuman choices. We find Sophia at the beginning of this episode addressing a room of anxious survivors, her voice steady despite the trembling of her hands. Commander Reynolds stands at the northern watchtower at dawn, binoculars trained on the horizon where distant smoke signals trouble. Once the unquestioned military authority of the sanctuary, recent events have left his leadership challenged and his methods scrutinized. What Reynolds fears most is losing control of the sanctuary, of the narrative, of his own carefully constructed facade. What he wants is to eliminate threats to his authority, whatever form they take. The episode opens with him receiving a report about Darius's death, his expression betraying nothing as he gives orders to restrict access to the communications tower. Liam Foster, former engineer and current head of sanctuary maintenance, begins episode 44 in the underground tunnel system, checking the integrity of walls that weren't built to withstand the attacks they've endured. After losing his family in the initial outbreak, Liam has rebuilt his purpose around keeping the sanctuary's infrastructure intact. What he fears most is another failure, another moment where his skills aren't enough to save the people depending on him. What he wants is redemption, a chance to prove that his survival wasn't in vain. The episode opens with Liam discovering a deliberate weak point in the eastern wall, one that doesn't appear on any of the sanctuary's blueprints. And finally, Maya Chen, Dr. Chen's daughter and the sanctuary's most skilled scout, stands at the crossroads of loyalty and truth. After witnessing the helicopter landing, she now possesses knowledge that could either save the sanctuary or destroy it entirely. What Maya fears most is choosing wrong, acting on information that leads to more death rather than salvation. What she wants is certainty in a world that offers none. The episode begins with Maya hiding the memory drive in a hollowed-out book in the sanctuary's library, her father's warning echoing in her mind. Trust no one until we know who poisoned the water. As dawn breaks over the sanctuary, these 7 souls move through their morning routines, unaware that by nightfall, nothing will be the same. The alliances they've built, the truths they've accepted, the people they've trusted. Everything is about to change. The episode begins with an aerial shot of the sanctuary at dawn, smoke still rising from the western perimeter. The camera pans across the settlement before zooming in on Marcus in his quarters, studying the map. There's a knock at his door. It's Commander Reynolds with news that Darius's death has been ruled an accident. Marcus's expression darkens as he questions how a fall could be an accident, but Reynolds dismisses his concerns, reminding Marcus that they have more pressing matters with the breach. As Reynolds leaves, Marcus pulls out Darius's notebook, found clutched in his hand at the scene. The pages contain coordinates, times, and a series of names, including Elena's. The betrayal flashes across Marcus's face before hardening into resolve. He tucks the notebook into his jacket and heads for the communications tower. Meanwhile, Elena moves through the medical wing, checking on survivors. Dr. Chen approaches her, asking casually about water distribution to the western sector before the attack. Elena's answer comes too quickly, too rehearsed, and Chen notices. Their conversation is interrupted by Sophia, who needs Elena's help with relocating the wounded to the eastern dormitories. As Elena leaves, Chen watches her with newfound suspicion. In the underground tunnels, Liam discovers the weak point in the eastern wall, a section deliberately thinned from the inside. As he examines it, he hears footsteps approaching. Hiding in a maintenance alcove, he watches as Maya enters the tunnel, looking over her shoulder before kneeling at the weak spot and placing her hand against it, as if measuring its thickness. Liam's confusion is evident. Maya has no reason to be in the tunnels, and certainly no reason to be checking the very weakness he just discovered. Back in the medical wing, Dr. Chen compares water samples from different sectors of the sanctuary. His analysis confirms that the western sector's water contains trace elements of the same compound found in the initial outbreak. As he's recording his findings, Commander Reynolds enters, asking pointed questions about Chen's research. Their conversation is a masterclass in tension. 2 men circling each other with words, neither revealing their full hand. Reynolds leaves with a warning disguised as concern. Be careful where your research takes you, Doctor. Not everyone appreciates the pursuit of certain truths. In the communications tower, Marcus searches through the equipment logs and finds evidence of Elena's transmissions, all sent during his sleep shifts, all directed to coordinates outside the sanctuary's ally network. As he's piecing this together, Elena enters, freezing when she sees him at her station. Their confrontation is heartrending, Marcus demanding answers, Elena insisting she was contacting potential allies. When he produces Darius's notebook, with her name among the suspected collaborators, the truth hangs between them like a physical presence. He was going to expose you, Marcus realizes aloud. He didn't understand what he found. Elena counters, desperation edging into her voice. And I do? Marcus asks, the betrayal raw in his question. No one does, Elena says softly. That's the problem. Their standoff is interrupted by the sanctuary's alarm system. The eastern perimeter has been breached. The weak point Liam discovered has been exploited. The next sequence is chaos and action, survivors running for shelter, security teams mobilizing, Marcus and Elena's personal conflict subsumed by the immediate threat. Sophia coordinates evacuations, while Commander Reynolds leads the armed response. In the medical wing, Dr. Chen secures his research and begins preparing for casualties. Meanwhile, Liam and Maya find themselves trapped in the eastern tunnels as intruders pour through the breach. Their escape route cut off, they're forced deeper into the tunnel system. This unexpected partnership leads to revelation. Maya admits she's been investigating the sanctuary's vulnerabilities after finding inconsistencies in the official blueprints. She believes someone in leadership has been compromising their security deliberately, creating weak points for future exploitation. Why didn't you take this to Marcus? Liam demands. Because I don't know who to trust, Maya answers. My father found evidence that the water supply was compromised intentionally. Whoever's responsible has access, authority, and a reason to want people scared and dependent. As they navigate the tunnels, avoiding search parties that might be friend or foe, their theories coalesce around a disturbing possibility. The attacks aren't meant to destroy the sanctuary, but to control it. To keep its inhabitants fearful enough to accept increasingly restrictive security measures. Above ground, the response to the breach reveals fractures in leadership. Commander Reynolds insists on military protocol, lock down sections, isolate threats, prioritize strategic assets over individual survivors. Marcus pushes back, demanding they focus on evacuation and civilian safety. Their clash culminates in Reynolds relieving Marcus of duty, citing his emotional compromise after Darius's death. Elena witnesses this power play and makes a choice. Using her access to the communication systems, she broadcasts Reynolds' own transmissions throughout the sanctuary, communications with the same coordinates she'd been contacting, but with very different content. While Elena had been trying to negotiate for supplies and information, Reynolds had been coordinating the attacks themselves. The revelation sends shockwaves through the sanctuary. Security personnel who were loyal to Reynolds now face a crisis of conscience. Sophia, organizing civilians in the central hall, uses the moment of confusion to rally people behind Marcus's leadership. Dr. Chen, hearing the broadcast from his lab, rushes to secure his research, only to find Commander Reynolds waiting for him. Their confrontation is tense. Reynolds needs Chen's research destroyed before it can corroborate the broader conspiracy. When Chen refuses, Reynolds attacks him, leading to a desperate struggle over the research data. Maya and Liam, emerging from the tunnels near the lab, arrive just in time to save Chen, with Maya finally using the combat skills we've seen her reluctant to employ in previous episodes. The climax of the episode unfolds in the central courtyard of the sanctuary. Reynolds, exposed but still dangerous, has taken Sophia hostage, demanding safe passage out of the sanctuary. Marcus, reinstated by popular demand, faces him across the open space. Elena stands at Marcus's side, her betrayal complicated by her ultimate choice to expose Reynolds. You understand what they want, Reynolds calls to Elena. You know why the sanctuary has to fall. I understand that we were both used, Elena responds. The difference is, I chose to stop. The standoff escalates until Maya, positioned on a rooftop with the precision we've come to expect from her, takes the shot that allows Sophia to break free. Reynolds, wounded but not defeated, makes a final desperate play, revealing that the eastern breach was just a diversion. The real threat is already inside the gates, has been for months, hidden among the survivors. As security teams subdue Reynolds, Marcus turns to Elena with the question that's been building since he found Darius's notebook. Were you part of this from the beginning? Elena's answer is complicated. She was recruited before the gates were built, tasked with ensuring the sanctuary remained vulnerable, its people dependent on outside help that would come with conditions. But the people she was supposed to report to, they never identified themselves, never explained their endgame. I thought I was ensuring our survival, Elena admits. But after living here, after seeing what we built together, I started sending false reports, buying us time. Time for what? Marcus demands. To become strong enough to stand alone, Elena answers. To not need whatever salvation they were promising. The episode ends with the sanctuary in a fragile state of unity. Reynolds is detained. Elena's status is uncertain. Her betrayal mitigated but not erased by her ultimate loyalty. Dr. Chen's research continues, now with sanctuary resources behind it, searching for a countermeasure to the engineered infection. Liam begins reinforcing the sanctuary's vulnerabilities with new awareness of how they were compromised. Sophia works to rebuild trust among the civilian population, her own faith in the sanctuary's mission tested but renewed. And Marcus and Maya stand at the highest point of the sanctuary, looking out over their damaged but enduring home as night falls. Reynolds said the real threat was already inside, Maya reminds him. He did, Marcus acknowledges. Do you think he was telling the truth? Marcus's gaze sweeps over the sanctuary, the lights coming on as darkness gathers, people moving with purpose even after the day's chaos. I think, he says finally, that whatever threat is still hidden among us, they've underestimated what we've become. The camera pulls back, showing the sanctuary from above, damaged but standing. Its lights a defiant constellation against the surrounding darkness. Episode 44 of Beyond the Gates masterfully develops several key themes that have been building throughout the season, bringing them to a powerful convergence that will reshape the remainder of the series. The most prominent theme is the tension between security and freedom, a dilemma that has haunted the sanctuary since its inception. Reynolds represents the extreme of security at all costs, willing to manufacture threats to maintain control and authority. His methods echo authoritarian systems throughout history that create or amplify external dangers to justify internal repression. In contrast, Marcus embodies the belief that security without humanity isn't worth having. That survival alone isn't enough if what survives isn't recognizably human in its compassion and connection. This episode also delves deeply into the concept of betrayal and its many forms. Elena's betrayal of Marcus is complicated by her ultimate choice to side with the sanctuary, suggesting that betrayal isn't always a destination, but sometimes a journey toward a different kind of loyalty. Reynolds's betrayal, by contrast, stems from a fundamental misalignment of values. He never believed in the sanctuary as a community, only as a strategic asset to be controlled. These different models of betrayal ask us to consider intentions alongside actions, and whether redemption is possible for different kinds of betrayal. The symbolism throughout the episode reinforces these themes. The physical breach in the sanctuary's walls mirrors the breach of trust among its leaders. The underground tunnels where Liam and Maya navigate their uncertainty represent the hidden currents of alliance and motivation running beneath the surface of sanctuary politics. Even Dr. Chen's contaminated water samples serve as a metaphor for how corruption can spread unseen through systems we depend on for life. The episode's title, The Architect of Collapse, works on multiple levels. It refers literally to whoever designed the sanctuary's structural weaknesses, but also metaphorically to Reynolds as the architect of social collapse within the community, and perhaps even to Elena, whose actions, however recalibrated, helped lay the groundwork for the day's events. Particularly poignant is the visual motif of dawn and dusk bookending the episode. We begin at dawn with characters in isolation, each processing their fears alone. We end at dusk with new alliances formed through crisis, suggesting that darkness sometimes reveals connections invisible in the light. Two fascinating fan theories have emerged from this episode's developments. The first posits that the sanctuary itself was never meant to be permanent, that it was designed as a sociological experiment to study how humans rebuild after collapse. This theory draws evidence from the deliberate weaknesses in construction, the engineered nature of the infection, and Reynolds's cryptic comments about what they want and why the sanctuary has to fall. If true, this would recontextualize the entire series as a study of human resilience under observation. The second theory suggests that Maya's role is far more central than previously indicated. Her specialized skills, her strategic positioning throughout the sanctuary's crises, and her connection to Dr. Chen's research all hint that she may have been placed in the sanctuary deliberately, possibly by whatever outside force Elena was originally reporting to, but with a different mission. Her consistent choice to protect the sanctuary could indicate either a change of heart similar to Elena's or a deeper game we're only beginning to understand. This theory is supported by her knowledge of the sanctuary's vulnerabilities and her presence at key moments of revelation. What makes these theories particularly compelling is that they don't contradict each other. Both could be true simultaneously, adding layers of complexity to the sanctuary's past and future. As we move forward in the series, watching for evidence to support or refute these possibilities adds another dimension to our viewing experience. Perhaps the most powerful thematic element of episode 44 is its exploration of home as something we build rather than find. The sanctuary began as a place of refuge, but through shared struggle and collective purpose, it has become something more, a community worth fighting for, worth changing for. Elena's transformation from saboteur to protector reflects this larger theme, that the places we inhabit change us just as surely as we change them. Episode 44 of Beyond the Gates marks a turning point in the series, a moment when external threats give way to internal reckonings, and when the true purpose of the sanctuary comes into question. What began as a story of survival has evolved into an exploration of governance, loyalty, and the societies we build in the aftermath of collapse. The revelation of Commander Reynolds as an architect of the sanctuary's troubles resolves one mystery while deepening others. His exposure and capture represent a victory, but his warning about threats already inside the gates ensures that vigilance cannot wane. Elena's complicated position, betrayer turned ally, creates new dynamics within the leadership group, particularly with Marcus, whose trust has been fundamentally shaken. The episode leaves us with several crucial questions that will surely drive the remainder of the season. What is the true nature and purpose of the outside group that recruited both Reynolds and Elena? Why is the sanctuary so important to their plans that they would invest years in undermining it from within? Dr. Chen's discovery about the engineered nature of the original infection adds another layer to this mystery. Was the global collapse itself orchestrated by the same forces now circling the sanctuary? On a more personal level, can Marcus and Elena rebuild any semblance of the trust that once defined their relationship? Elena's choice to expose Reynolds rather than escape with him suggests redemption is possible, but betrayal of this magnitude leaves wounds that may never fully heal. Sophia's evolution continues to be one of the most compelling arcs of the series. Her ability to mobilize the civilian population during the crisis demonstrates her growing leadership capacity and positions her as a potential successor to Marcus should his faith in humanity continue to erode under the weight of repeated betrayals. Liam and Maya's unexpected alliance introduces new possibilities for the sanctuary's defense. Liam's engineering expertise combined with Maya's strategic insight could help fortify the sanctuary against both physical and social vulnerabilities, if they can learn to fully trust each other. Looking ahead to episode 45, we can expect the fallout from Reynolds' capture to reverberate through the sanctuary. His interrogation will likely reveal more about the outside forces at work, though whether his information can be trusted remains to be seen. Elena's status within the community will need to be addressed. Is she a prisoner, a probationary member, or still part of leadership despite her admitted deceptions? Dr. Chen's research into the engineered infection will surely accelerate now that the sanctuary's resources are aligned behind his efforts. The possibility of a countermeasure or cure could dramatically alter the power dynamics between the sanctuary and the outside world, potentially making the community a target for those who benefit from the current state of collapse. Most tantalizing is the question of Reynolds' final warning. Who among the sanctuary's population represents the real threat he alluded to? Is there another sleeper agent similar to what Elena once was? Or is the threat more diffuse, a philosophy or ideology spreading through the community that could undermine its foundations more surely than any physical attack? Beyond the Gates continues to excel at balancing intimate personal dramas against the broader canvas of societal reconstruction. Episode 44 reminds us that the greatest threats to community often come not from outside forces, but from the compromises we make in the name of security, the secrets we keep in the name of peace, and the trust we withhold in the name of protection. As the sanctuary faces these challenges, so too do we as viewers confront questions about our own societies, what we build, what we protect, and what we sacrifice in the process. In a world increasingly defined by walls, both physical and ideological, Beyond the Gates offers no easy answers, only the compelling suggestion that whatever lies beyond those barriers, we cannot escape the humanity that binds us together within them. If you enjoyed this breakdown of episode 44, there's much more to explore in the world beyond the gates. Like, comment, and subscribe for more deep dives into this revolutionary drama series. Share your own theories about Reynolds' warning and Elena's redemption in the comments below. And join us next week as we unravel the next chapter in this unforgettable saga of survival, betrayal, and the endless human capacity for renewal.